People eat all types of food every day of the week. There's great eating habits and then terrible eating habits. But who determines what type of eating habits we should have? Food is so expensive now and it doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. Some people believe you have to be vegan for a healthy lifestyle, while others believe you can eat whatever you want in moderation and exercise. I want to get down to the bottom of how we view eating and how much of a challenge it really is. This is About My Issue.
I forgot the words. We'll be going up.
In the words of Luther Vandross, it's so amazing to be loved.
This man.
You know I gotta keep it old school.
Well, old school, what's on your mind today?
Eating habits.
And I'ma eat whatever I want, whenever I damn well please.
And me too. Man, look, I'ma have a huge juicy steak and a loaded baked potato, bro, whenever I get ready. You know what I mean? Look, both of my grandparents both lived to be 100 and they didn't have restricted diets. You know what I mean? So I don't just be judging any and everything that I eat, but at the same time, like, I exercise a good 4 to 5 times a week. You know what I mean? Just as a backup, because I feel like you got to necessarily do things in moderation. Growing up, my mom, like, breakfast, that wasn't really our thing. Sometimes I still be waking up, so I ain't got time to be sitting at nobody's table. I don't even want to grab nothing on the go. Because some things I've always questioned, like, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Says who? You know what I mean? Who said that? Why is that an actual fact, you know? How did y'all grow up when it came to breakfast, lunch, and dinner when y'all was growing up?
So breakfast, I usually just got that at school.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Yeah,
me too.
But, when I was out of school, my mom, she made breakfast. Like, typically, I think when I was younger, I would just resort to cereal most of the time.
I feel you.
Because that was, like, my comfort food.
Sugar?
Like,
What type of cereal? Would you?
Frosted Flakes. I sit there and watch my Saturday morning cartoons, with my special spoon. But, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch for me.
The taste you can see?
Yeah.
Boy, y'all didn't play a bunch of cereal.
For me, my go-to was honeycombs.
Okay. I don't know the slogan for that one.
I don't think they have a slogan. Oh, maybe?
The more you know.
So y'all done turned into, what was y'all favorite cereal? Name that cereal, goddamn.
So I kind of agree with Squeeze. Like, most of my meals came from school. On the weekends, in the mornings, sit down, eat my cereal, watch my Saturday morning cartoons. Then around the time, depending on how my mother felt once she got off of work, she'll either cook lunch and dinner, or we'll go out to for fast food, and that'll be lunch and dinner. Yeah. In a sense, because once we go out, we're not going back out for nothing else.
I'm glad you said that, bro, because that led me into a question I was thinking about, and that's, did your parents keep things balanced? You know what I mean? Because, like, my mom, she was one of them working women in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? She was climbing the corporate ladder, and she just wasn't not posting up at no stove after working her shift. Like, that just wasn't a thing. So it was a good amount of Chick-fil-A and McDonald's that filled my childhood. Taco Bell, too. Yeah, we was rocking out heavy, real heavy.
Diarrhea Bell?
Yeah. Either way, like, that was a big part. But see, when I was growing up, I enjoyed that. It didn't really bother me. And sometimes I didn't even like going to some of my friends' houses for sleepovers or anything, because their parents make sure, like, things was balanced. Like, you make sure you had the broccoli and the carrots, and it's like, hey, lady, you need to slow down. We're here for a good time, not a long time. What you doing with all these different vegetables and stuff? Let's just rock out and, hit Chick-fil-A. Right, and so we was young then, and that would be a whole thing. Like, hey, bro, maybe if you ask my mom if we can go to Chick-fil-A, she'll say yes, but I know to me, she gonna say no. Like, what you remember, Brittany?
Well, my mom was pretty good at, I won't say, it depends on what you consider a balanced meal. She made sure we always had a vegetable. Okay. With whatever it was we were eating. But, she's a pretty healthy eater, so it was pretty balanced, I would say. Yeah.
I had some balance too. Not so much at home. It was a lot of like meat and starches. But with both my grandmas, it was a meat, a veggie, and a starch. So you could always guarantee that you're going to have some sort of green on your plate, and you can always guarantee that you're going to have a potato or rice. So I got a lot of balance. At my grandma's, wasn't a fan because I don't know about y'all, but I had to eat everything
make sure
on
that
my
plate
plate.
I remember that.
And my mom was like, if you don't like it, don't eat it. Have a bowl of cereal. So going from that to then, oh no, you gotta eat everything. But yeah.
Really? You got cereal at the end? My mom was like, you gonna starve tonight.
I would
You
fall
ate your
asleep at the
food,
table.
Yeah, you gotta eat what's on your plate.
Kim, thank you for meeting with me today.
You're welcome.
I wanted to talk to you about something that's very important, but I don't think a lot of people focus on, and that's eating habits, right? So I was wondering, what is your take or your thoughts about on how everyone eats, right? Because for me, I don't pay attention to everything that I eat because I pretty much do exercise like a good 4 to 5 times a week, right? So I'm not reading every label, I'm not counting calories. But I know your background as a wellness coach, you see how people eat. What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes. So what I've seen is that many people, almost the majority of people, eat for taste. They eat for taste and emotions.
Okay.
So a lot of times we're eating to fill a void, the same way, similar, like we're addicted to our phone. We always have to be engaged in something
That's
and
true.
entertained. When we're not doing that, we snacking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it seems like it's a challenge with just being with ourselves and feeling whatever it is that we're feeling. So a lot of times we feel like it's hunger. So it's like, I need something.
I definitely eat out of boredom sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly. So I see that a lot. We eat for taste, we eat for emotion. Beyond that, when we become health conscious, a lot of times we choose a particular route that may be popular, that we've heard is going to be beneficial.
Right.
For example, you know, being a vegan or, you know, eating for calories or
Sure.
you know, some sort of fast, a Daniel fast. It may be for religious purposes or something like that.
A Daniel fast. What is that?
Well, that's religious based.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a certain time of the year where, you know, people only eat a certain time of the day and they cut out certain things. But it's like a temporary thing for religious purposes,
Okay.
where you're also kind of like tuning in to, you know, give the body a break and do a little bit more cleansing.
Okay. Awesome. I was wondering, what does it take to be a certified nutritionist? Like, is it a certain amount of classes that you have to take? Or I've never done the research, but I was just interested in how people become a certified nutritionist.
Yeah. So, you know, it can be a great area because it's in the field of natural or so-called alternative health. So most states only recognize being a registered dietitian. So those are traditional occupations that work in hospitals, and they normally recommend the, you know, the standard food groups, you know, the food pyramid, that sort of thing. Now, in some states, they also have what's called a certified nutritional specialist.
Okay.
But not many states. And so, you know, they can be recognized and respected on the level of a dietitian, you know, and they can a lot of times work in hospitals and things like that, but not a lot of states aren't, you know, to that level. So short of that, there is the area where there are many schools now and programs that offer curriculums and courses where you can become a nutritionist, a health coach, you know, that sort of thing. Now, it may not be recognized and accredited by the state, but it does give you some training, education,
Credibility,
and
sure.
credibility, exactly,
Okay.
to be able to do what you do. It may not be recognized by traditional medicine all the time, you know, but it does give you, like I said, credibility.
Nice. I know you've met people of all different like races, and I was just thinking about in regards to eating habits, some eating disorders, right? Like anorexia, you know, bulimia, sometimes seeing people on, you know, My 600-Pound Life. How do you determine what's the next step for someone? Because it seems like it's sometimes a psychological thing and not even just a eating habits thing.
Right, right. So in terms of how to help somebody
Right.
that's dealing with, you know,
Those
because I know you
issues.
said sometimes it's culture, it's a cultural issue where you may find people more of one persuasion that may end up being anorexic or, you know, dealing with bulimia than maybe our culture,
Right,
so to
sure.
speak. And, you know, a lot is changing in you know, in this country in terms of body shaming and body image type. So you may not see as much of that,
Right.
you know, but, you know, anorexia has been around, you know, since ancient times.
Really? It
BC.
goes back that
It
far?
goes back that far.
Oh, wow.
It was like sort of like self-starvation. Some of it was considered for religious purposes, for it to be more pure and things like that. And depending on what culture you're dealing with, European culture, the standard was to be really thin. So, self-starvation was a method that was practiced.
Sure.
And similar with bulimia, although bulimia wasn't really recognized until like the late 70s by psychiatrists as an issue when you are, you will eat and then you'll purge.
Right.
So a lot of us, may not deal with that as much, but that's been a big issue over time. So that's part of, it's a good thing that body image and things like that are changing, so you may not see as much of that, but it still does exist.
Right. Like some people feel like you can't eat certain things because it disrespects your body or, certain life and stuff like that. Like, man, I remember sitting up here dating somebody and they was just not doing meat no more. You know what I mean? Sometimes we had conflict of that because I'm definitely going to have a 10-piece wet for sure. You know what I mean? But she'd be like, that chicken had a soul. You know what I mean? And you over here eating that chicken, I can hear that chicken screaming.
That's deep.
Oh my God.
That is deep. But she would eat goddamn salmon. And I'd be like, you know what? Salmon may not necessarily be a chicken, but they got a soul too. So while you sitting up here enjoying that with your mashed potatoes and judging me for the wings, like, it's just certain things I feel like it can't be completely perfect when it comes to eating. You know what I'm saying? I do get that. And like you said, Serena, like, that is deep, but at the same time, food and nourishment, it was placed on our bodies to get us right. You know what I mean? To keep us full and certain things like that so we can live. Because I'm going to tell you, I feel like a lot of vegans or vegetarians I done met, they be weak. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't be moving around as quick as somebody I know who maybe eat meat. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm just saying some that I have met. It's just like, damn, where your energy at, bro? Like, how y'all feel about that?
Speaking of energy, the purpose of eating is to retain the energy in which you're consuming, right? A lot of the times I feel like we tend to overconsume because of, how natural it is to eat at this point in time and this part of the day, and just it's ritualistic for us to consume all day long.
Or due to boredom.
Those different things, they play into it. So it's like what you're eating gets lost in translation too. So it's like people who tend to eat more greens than meats and stuff like that. It's like maybe they're taking into account how much energy this thing is getting from them. I know me personally, I tend to perform better when I'm consuming like fruits and vegetables and those things, in massive quantities versus when I'm eating heavier, like burgers and, like I said, I'll eat anything, but I also have to pay attention to my body and what it's telling me it needs, because if I discount that, then I'm setting myself up for future failure.
That man nasty. He said he'll eat anything. Gotta slow down. But Leanne, how you feel about that? Because I know we've had conversations about like what you eat, and I feel like sometimes we done met up, people be like, nah, I ain't eat nothing. They be like, I feel like you don't eat at all.
I would actually agree with what he just said. I feel better eating organically versus just heavy stuff and fast food.
Yeah, I feel you.
So fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, I feel you. Naj, what about you, bro?
At this point in my time, at this point in my life, I eat what I can afford. Like, times are hard. Money is going towards, more important things in my mind, in my aspect of life.
Right.
So, some days, I can afford to go out, maybe twice a week, probably go to Chili's or something like that.
Okay.
And, and ball out. Other times, I'm meal prepping for 2 weeks. Rather than, So for me, it all depends on what I have coming in financially wise and what's going out.
Yeah. That's dope.
I would agree with that too.
Okay.
And to that point, that had a large role in what I ate growing up. As far as the consumption of things in balance, I don't know if balance was pushed on me too much. I know, we had vegetables on the tray or whatever, the plate, but as far as what I was eating, I know I had a lot of McDonald's, and I didn't come from a 2-parent household where we had multiple sources of income. It was my mom, and she worked a lot, and whenever she could, she cooked, but McDonald's was that second parent. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, definitely, what you can afford plays a huge role in what we eat.
Yeah. I be thinking, man, because I feel like ever since like the pandemic back in 2020, food then just tasted like really different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if y'all have picked up on that, but I'm saying like everyone's food. You know what I mean? Like whether it's from the grocery store or fast food, I feel like the taste of a lot of food, it could just be me, but I feel like it's just the whole taste is completely different. Well, how do y'all feel about that? Do you feel like that's a real thing, or do you feel like, well, you tripping? Like, ain't nothing been put differently in food.
I think you're right.
I would agree with you. I think some food, especially produce, where it's coming from, how it's clean, how it's preserved, and then whether you're taking it home or a restaurant is preparing it for you. I think just what people are doing now to, maximize their dollars so that they're not, we're paying a lot for these groceries or for a meal. And so restaurants, I'm sure, or the farmers or farm to table are paying a lot too. So what are they doing to keep it or preserve it? And so I think that plays into it. Like, what's going in our food is probably why it tastes different.
But also, things are made in labs now.
Yeah.
And I think the pandemic had definitely switch things as far as how much things were being produced in massive quantities, because a lot of farms were going out of business, right? Like there were a lot of food shortages around that time. People being inside, not being out, eating overconsumption, right? I know I was buying steaks. And I was like, I'm eating steak every day.
Easy.
Like, I was preparing it in different ways. My birthday pandemic, I was like, shit, you know what I want? Mimosas and steak all day, prepared in different ways. So
That man different. Mimosas and steak.
I'm trying to tell you, man, that's be hanging this time.
Do you think there's one universal way to follow when it comes to eating? Because I'm not going to say I feel like everyone's just guessing, but at times I feel like they are. Not like there's a conspiracy, like, ooh, they putting something in the food. Like, no,
They may be.
They may be.
But anyway.
right. But I'm saying in terms of trying to read any and everything on a label, you're still going off of hearsay, right? They say that's in there, they say that's what it is, but that you're not necessarily sure. Do you think there is one universal way to follow to eat, or you think everyone's just guessing?
I don't think that there's one universal way to eat, for one, because, depending on where you're from, where your ancestors were from, and different things like that, what foods are indigenous to the land where you came from, what the elements are like, determine what it is that your body needs. So let's say Eskimos, from a certain part of the world, their diet may consist of, like whale blubber.
That makes sense.
We wouldn't be able to necessarily exist on that. So that's, taking it down to a really, basic level. I haven't met an Eskimo per se. So most of us aren't dealing with that. But I don't think that there is one universal type. I do believe that and feel that I know that the core things that the body needs are nutrients. And whatever the diet may be, our body is looking for nutrients, essential nutrients. So minerals, 60 minerals, vitamins, 16 vitamins, there is protein, essential fats. Those are the core building blocks that the body is looking for. So sometimes when we subscribe to what may be considered a fad diet, and sometimes even when we're trying to do something good like being vegan, we may lose sight of the goal in terms of what the body is actually looking for. Like the cells are looking for the essential fats, the omega-3s as we call them, to protect the cells. So when people are concerned about viruses and catching things or whatever, the immune system is internal. So if you give the cells the components that it needs, the essential fats to protect it from viruses and bacteria and fungus and things like that, and you give it the other nutrients that it needs, then it can sustain itself. The cells won't be damaged. Like cancer is a damaged cell a lot of time from nutritional deficiencies and things like that. So I think that should be the focus in terms of getting the nutrients, but in terms of like one universal way. I don't believe that's the case. You know, they say one man's meat is another man's poison.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, you know, so the blood type may be a factor. There are different what they call metabolic types to look at. Doing blood work is important to see kind of where you are and what you may be deficient in, so you'll know what it is that you need, and really tuning into your body and knowing that, hey, I'm really low. I'm tired a lot. I'm weak, bad mood, you know, things like that. So that could be a person that's a vegan, you know, but they're nutrient deficient.
Right.
You know, and they may be taking in a lot of sugars and starches, and they may be insulin resistant, but think they're being healthy by being vegan. You know what I mean?
I see what you're
And
saying.
so that may be like the blanket way that a lot of people are trying to eat, but not really tuning in, or maybe not being aware of what the body is actually looking for to know how to do it in a way that works for them.
Sure. Let me ask this. How many diets do you know of?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
You know what?
I
I stopped trying to keep
look
up with all of
There's
that.
so many?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, because traditionally for a long time people counted calories. You know,
sure,
like
sure.
for weight loss and things like that.
Weight
and then
Watchers,
you
that was a
have the
thing.
Atkins diet, now it's the keto and Jenny Craig. You know,
So many,
it's
yeah.
like it's so many of them that I'm basically looking at, like, let's say if it's a car.
Okay,
You know what I
sure.
mean? It's like, well, do you go to this? Do you go to that? But the car is looking for oil in the engine. You know, it's looking for gas to run. It's looking for brake. You know, it's looking for those components.
Yeah.
How you get it, you may style it a little differently, but understand how this divine vehicle that you were given, your body temple, you know, I look at it like a rental car. You got a luxury model car that you got for a certain period of time.
Right.
Take care of it. Learn how it works. You know, it's not just that, well, everybody says goes to that gas station because, you know, they're doing this. But what is it that your body is looking for? People learn more about their cars and what it needs, and they learn about the essential nutrients that their body needs.
Right. I feel like there's no perfect way to eat, regardless of what you may do, regardless if you're vegan, vegetarian, or you eat everything, because at some point you are going have to eat. You know what I mean? But I don't think everyone specifically reads any and every ingredient in there. And even if they do, it could still be capped. You know what I mean? You going off a label. That's the funny thing to me about eating. When people be like, well, I don't eat that because I got that in there. You don't know what exactly this is. You are going off the label and somewhat off the taste, and you think you know exactly what this is,
But you weren't there.
but you weren't there.
When it says natural flavors, you don't know what that is.
Right. You do not. You don't know any of that.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because folks that are vegan, they're saying, oh, it tastes just like chicken. There's nothing in it. But I'm like, how do you know they're not
Actually
putting
putting
like
chicken in
chicken
there?
juice in there or something, like bone broth? Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, how do you know?
I actually, when I was in high school, it was so funny, just because you said that, I just want to throw this in there. We were at the lunch table, it was me, one of my guys, and this girl. She was a vegan, so she used to bring lunch to school every day. She went from vegetarian to vegan.
Okay.
So we're at the lunch table. I'm eating my burrito, and my man's, he's eating like a chicken wrap.
Okay.
Caesar chicken wrap. So a piece of chicken falls out of his wrap. And we're talking, and she reaches down, and we're looking at her like,
Whoa.
and then she spits it out. I'm looking at her like, did you not know that was chicken? She goes, I thought it was a crouton. But it's like you're just going off of what you see. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what these things are. You don't know what you're putting in
Even
your
if
body.
you think it's better than what's unhealthy.
Right.
Let me add another element into this. Do you all feel like you could date someone, or are you dating someone who had different eating preferences than you?
I have.
You have?
Yeah. I used to be with a professional dancer. She danced for like NFL team, Miami Dolphins.
Blue Flame too? Blue Flame?
No,
Oh, that's Blue Flame.
No,
Okay,
no,
okay, I got it.
Miami Dolphins.
Miami, that's what's up.
You said
But-
professional, not exotic.
Okay. they professionals too.
That part. But she would fluctuate. So when she was out of season, we were eating the same, right? in season, she's going from
Trying to stay in shape.
pescatarian to vegetarian to vegan to raw vegan.
Wow.
Raw vegan is a whole different beast because nothing is cooked.
Dang.
And we living together. I'm not doing any of that shit.
Right. At all.
No
At all.
way.
Yeah.
But it definitely it teaches you to be more, cognizant of what you're putting in your body too, because it's like, dang, I'm seeing your results and I'm kind of digging that, damn, looking at myself like, shoot, maybe I should try, switching it up a little bit, and taking care of myself a little bit more. But
Yeah.
Right, and to piggyback off what you said, I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
If I see something, I'm like, okay, let me try that out. But once you start forcing it upon me,
right,
then it's to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm
good.
I'm good. I can't have you forcing something that I don't want.
True.
exactly.
That's so important, man, when it comes to dating and trying to get to know someone, because like I'd rather not waste somebody's time. You know what I mean? Like, cause I feel like I'm at that age now. You know what I mean? So this could be a first date, and so if I do get that juicy ass steak, Squeeze, and you look at me like, oh wow, you eat steak, I'm gonna be like, check please.
Take this to go.
Right, this is not gonna work. Cause I remember being on an actual date and doing that, and a woman being straight up like, that's cool that you eat that, but you need to know, like, if we go farther in dating or ever in a relationship or live together or married and stuff like that, I'm not making none of that shit. And I was like, well, you ain't gotta worry about that because I ain't even finna text you back. All good, and that's just what it was. Like,
Right.
Serena, what about you?
I haven't had that experience. Every person that I've dated, including the person I'm dating now, we eat the same things. There's no restrictions. And for me, I don't think there are ever going to be restrictions. I go to the doctor every year. I get a checkup, a physical, blood work, and I eat meat, I eat dairy, all the things that people say are bad for you in one form or fashion, and I'm healthy, like across the board, bomb cholesterol, not pre-diabetic. So, as you said, I'm gonna eat what I damn well please.
I'm a little different in the way that I approach things. Like I said, I eat whatever I want, but I also work out multiple times a week. And I think I'm a little spoiled because both of my grandparents lived to be 100, and they did not follow a specific diet. Now, food was maybe a bit different back then than it is now.
But
am I tripping by having that philosophy? And I
a
need
little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah, you look good in there. I don't want to put it like this, but, and this is not going to happen to you.
Sure.
Cancel.
Okay.
Right?
Cancel.
But there are a lot of good-looking corpse. Do you know what I mean?
That's what you're
Being fit is very important. That's
Sure.
a good thing that can compensate for a certain part of it. But that doesn't let you know what your circulation looks like. If your arteries are clogged or compromised because they're nutritionally deficient, and therefore, there may be some blockages that occur because, plaque is trying to patch up, little things because we're not getting enough of, what we need to
Right.
make the cells strong, to make the arteries healthy.
Sure.
It doesn't compensate for what your sugar levels are like and making sure that you're not pre-diabetic. It's not compensating for, are you getting enough vitamin D? We're in the sun right now, and that's a beautiful thing, but
Right.
most of the time we're not.
True.
So
true.
are we getting enough vitamin D? All those sorts of things. So, you tripping a little bit. I mean, it's part of the balance.
Okay. Sure.
To be fit and all of that, but there, I don't remember his name, but the jogging craze. I don't know if you may not remember when jogging
Was in
became a
style.
thing,
Yeah,
like in the
right.
70s, and it was like the book of jogging, and the jogging suits and all that became popular.
Sure.
Well, the man that started that whole craze and became the guru in that, and then he trained someone. They both died of heart
issues,
heart issues. He dropped dead jogging.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because you have to be sure that you are feeding the heart. So my biggest concern with people that exercise, because at a certain, on a certain level, it can be, it could be more dangerous than being a couch potato if someone is constantly, exercising, sweating,
Right.
they're losing nutrients, and if they're not replenishing them, then that puts the heart at risk.
Gotcha.
So the heart needs these minerals and nutrients to keep beating, if you're sweating them out and not putting them in, then that could be a critical issue.
Okay. I mentioned this story to a few friends of mine because I thought it's funny, but it's not funny. But I had an ex-girlfriend, right? And she was like a pescatarian. But she used to make fun of me, like, when I was eating chicken wings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, I don't see how you're eating that. Like, those chicken wings, like, that chicken had a soul. You know what I mean? Like, how are you sitting there eating those chicken wings?
So did the fish, but go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah.
So I would just be like, you're eating salmon, but it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel when people relate spirituality to their eating habits and stuff like that?
Well, how dare I not acknowledge spirituality in everything, right?
Absolutely.
You know, I think it's balance. You know, I think it's, you know, important to tap in to what feels real for you. But a lot of times people project their beliefs on other people, and they may take it out of the context of what it is that, you know, is really important.
Sure.
There is a thing, you know, in terms of like different animals representing different things. So they say chickens represent fear, you know, and you know how they say black folks love chicken, and you know, that was given to us, that sort of thing, and black folks have a lot of fear. I leave that to people to sort out for themselves.
Sure.
You know, they may feel that, well, if you go on a certain street, you know, it has certain energy to it and that sort of thing. You know, the certain religions kill animals a certain way, in a way that they feel is more humane, or, you know, doesn't create as much fear and trauma that we then eat and absorb. And then, of course, there are vegans who don't, you know, eat meat at all because of the whole idea that you're killing another, you know, living being, so to speak.
Okay.
So I kind of leave that to people, but I just think it's important still to always, you know, focus in on what your body needs and the nutrients that it needs and the chemicals that are in what we're eating. So let's just say chicken, for example, you know, besides the fear factor, you know, I think about the fact that, you know, they pump them with so many chemicals and hormones and steroids and things like that. When you deal, if she's a pescatarian, you're talking about fish, I would say eat wild caught fish, because farm raised, let's say she's eating salmon, if it's farm raised, you know, they're raising it on chemicals and soy and things like that.
Salmon be so delicious though.
If it's salmon, at least wild caught.
Got you. So
wild caught. And no tilapia, please.
Right, leave that alone.
No
That was made in
tilapia.
the lab.
That's worse than catfish.
Okay.
They like the sanitation department.
It's worse than catfish?
Yeah, because did you hear about tilapia like 15 years ago?
No, of course
No,
not.
where did it come from? Because they were in China over there eating up all the garbage.
But no, I'm saying, you said that like that was catfish bad. I love me some catfish with fried okra now. I'm just saying. I need to step back.
Yeah, well, you know, they eat
Same
it,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
right.
Okay. So let me ask y'all this. Do you feel like eating habits are tailored to people? Like trying to have a, you know, just their lifestyle? I know for me personally, like I work hybridly, you know what I mean? Like I can work from home or I can go into the office. But me, I'll be at home working and still won't cook. I'll take my lunch break and go somewhere else because, like I said, I didn't grow up like that. That's just not me. Brittany, what about you? Because I feel like you know nightlife, so it's a little different when you're trying to eat on the fly or work at the same time. Like,
Well, for sure, me as a bartender, you know, working late at night, you kind of just gotta eat when you get the time too. So, and in that type of environment, there's nothing
healthy on the menu. Right.
You know, so I'm eating fried pork chops at 12 o'clock at night. You know, macaroni, greens. I enjoy it now, don't get me wrong.
oh, we can see. We can see.
Yeah, but it does add a couple pounds to you, for sure, for sure.
Serena, what about you? Because I know you sometimes you be looking like you have some long days. Long days.
Yes. So I do not have the luxury to work remote. I am in office 4 days out of the week, and I have a very early schedule. So I'm in the office 7:30. Sometimes I'm not leaving till 4:35, 6. So you're looking at 8+ hour days. The last thing I want to do when I get home is cook.
From the stove, yeah.
I want to enjoy my weekends, so I forget to meal prep, which I've found to be super important. So for me, the name of the game is convenience, and I'm learning that convenience is not it. So as a working professional who also sits on a board, who also volunteers, I just don't have the time that I would like. Now, if I had a chef, different story.
I agree. Nigel, how do you have the patience for meal prepping? You said for like 2 weeks, bro?
2 weeks straight. So,
because I mess around and eat Monday's meal and Tuesday's on Sunday.
So, but here's the thing: the way I do it. So, depending on how I feel, because I try to meal prep Sundays.
Yeah.
Depending on how I feel, I'll go ahead and meal prep 3 meals per day for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's not a big meal prep.
Yeah.
Like for breakfast, I may just make some breakfast burritos and freeze them.
Okay.
And then, or I may cook up 2 dozen eggs and just have boiled eggs in the morning.
Yeah. Okay.
Then lunch, I may do something simple, maybe some pieces of chicken, some broccoli, and some rice. But my thing, when I first started, I was all for it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this for 2 weeks. Have the same thing for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You got old real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Because for me, I can't have the same thing every 2 weeks. So what I do, if I do chicken tenders or baked chicken, I season each one differently. So Monday I may have some buffalo chicken tenders. Tuesday I may have some teriyaki.
Okay.
Just kind of mixing it up.
Yeah.
But as far as the patience goes, and you can attest to this, back at the stadium,
Sure.
We'll be working 18-hour shifts.
And sometimes
We'll
go past that. Yeah.
It'll go past that, but we'll be 10 hours into that shift before we even
get to
see something to eat.
Yeah.
Then the food that we do get is it's trash.
That's a fact, bro. No, you're right.
So that's kind of where that patience came from, as far as just cooking, because I know if I can go to work from 5 in the morning and wait 10 hours to eat a meal, I can take that same time and put into meal prepping for just one day.
I got you. That's what's up, bro. Man, I really feel like people should eat what they choose to eat,
Right.
and no one should judge them for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that should just be an okay thing. I know for me, like I said, I eat whatever I want, whenever I want, because I still can do that, and I exercise on the daily. But pray over your food, or whatever you do, and you'll be fine, man.
We'll be going. I'm so tired of being worried. Damn, I can't believe I'm almost 30. Always thought that by this time I'd just be buried, maybe married. Cause where I come from, the girl you choose decide your ceremony. Whether black or in white, it's up to her, so choose wisely, or choose wisely. I'm so up right now, I'm living life.
On the jet, with the set, no overlays, we fly direct. Low on funds, I need some bread. Management, he's sitting that. Book the show, flip the bread. Thank you, Niz, replenished it. That's the biz, we finish it.
If it's life, we'll be going up, up, up. We'll be going up, up, up. We'll be going